people wanted on to the Thunder Nationals tour. The Thunder Nationals it just had a huge following, and it was a tough group to get in with.
They were great shows. I mean, they were always very well attended and very professional. I mean, like I said, it was the pinnacle of our industry. So you had to bring your A game. Everybody there was a hard runner. We had Willie there also running Rambo, full tilt all the time. Of course, Chucky. I mean, there were no slouches in that.
I liked the whole aura of it because we were all a big family.
It was a brotherhood. It was a family. Everybody helped everybody. I just went to hang out with everybody and see if I could help anybody.
Mike Botters was instrumental in growing our business.
That just seemed like a cool series to be on, and I really wanted to be on that series. A lot of my friends were on that series. Of course, Marty was on it. Jerry Richmond was on it. Steve Hess.
And we became a really, really close-knit group of guys.
It was a family.
We done everything together every weekend, and everybody helped each other. And a lot of us wouldn't even take crew members because we just helped each other.
Everybody had everybody's back. It was not like you were going to a show to work. We were going there to do what we had to do and have fun with all our friends.
You had to give the same speech every week. Now, whether it did you any good, I have no idea.
We were freestyling. I mean, we were off the hook. And I remember Aaron come out and threw his clipboard down. You guys got to settle down. And of course we didn't. I mean, we used to let air pressure down real low. Believe it or not, I would rub oil on my tires. And that sounds funny, but I'd rub oil like over half my rear tires. And then I'd pull out the line and nail it and spin the tires, and then I just kept spinning them, and then all of a sudden it would get tacky.
It was pretty neat how they all stood on end and landed on concrete. And your trucks had to be really tough for Aaron to hire you. You had to be a good, dependable truck. You had to look good, but you had to be able to perform night in and night out. And that's what I think set us all apart.
Those hockey rinks, because that's what they were. They were hockey rinks and basketball courts that we went in and put events on. So to have 9,000 or 10,000 seats, that was a nice auditorium or a nice venue, a civic center or arena to be in. And a lot of those, we had to pull our haunches in and get skinny, but we adjusted.
We did Richmond, Hampton, Virginia, Wheeling, West Virginia. I mean, there's really none that really, Dayton, Ohio was a lot of fun. A lot of just our fan base at all these shows. I mean, you look forward to going out every weekend because, Wheeling this weekend, Richmond next weekend, and just so neat.
I mean, it was absolutely incredible. I mean, 10-foot run to the cars, and you never touch your cars, and you land and stop, and you're in a hockey arena.
That was pretty hard on the truck. We were doing a lot for indoor, arenas, hitting fresh cars, getting a lot of air, and coming down on concrete. It's still a lot different than hitting dirt ramps or outdoor events with landing on dirt.
People don't realize how hard those shows were landing on concrete night in and night out.
So I come in and I knew I had to really run hard when I got there, and that's what I did. And that's what kind of made my mark is when I picked up with Thunder Nationals.
When you think of the time we were doing that with 10-foot run, we were clearing 6 cars.
Yeah. I would take hits where literally it felt like my head was rolling around on the floorboard.
Aaron kind of promoted these short, high, no suspension trucks. He's the one that transpired us into lower, better suspension. Just making trucks work because of what we were putting them through. And like you said, hanging on the roll case, we didn't break our back every landing. We learned to adapt, and that was the whole progression of what you see in monster trucks today. The good suspensions and shocks and 4-links and good seats and Hans devices, and that's kind of what started it. That we were all getting our backs broke back then.
We were all racers at heart. We didn't want to lose. It was never about money to win or lose. It was pride.
Yeah. Willie was young. He was 16. He was the youngest guy driving back in the day, and again a short wheelbase with a blower motor, and a lot of leaf spring, and you put a young kid in there with no fear, and that truck just bounced and never knew where it was going to land. And Willie was a lot of fun, and we watched him do a lot of crazy things.
That truck was so wild with the bouncing, but those guys seemed to be able to handle it. Their timing was phenomenal. That thing would bounce and they'd hit the throttle and make it do stuff. I remember them bouncing forward, hitting reverse and carrying reverse wheelies because they'd catch that bounce.
It was just it would bounce, and we were just in all them short arenas, and you're just trying to get on the brakes before you hit the wall. So it would just happen to work out that way.
Whenever you knew Willie was going out with Rambo, you know, if we had to pit in a tunnel or something, I was usually in front of them. I would usually have to go first or second in the lineup for freestyle. And I remember, you know, you had to get back and get parked, get out of the truck. Even if the truck was broke, sometimes I had to run out to watch Willie run.
Mansfield's an outdoor event, and there was a stage set up in the infield, and Willie pretty much landed on top of the stage every year.
Somehow we always found that stage. I don't know how.
Obviously, running at that level, we were running harder and harder. You know, began running against stiffer competition. And
that truck was like a mechanical basketball, and he was really good at it, but especially in the small arenas, just really hard to control. So I'd be lying if I didn't tell you I was held my breath a lot when Willie would do his thing.
Yeah, it was Willie in Evansville. It was Willie in Mansfield.
It was like if it moved, he hit it. You know, we were beyond warning him because it just didn't do any good, especially outside.
the competition that was taking place, everybody was pushing harder and harder and harder, and you had, you know, Willie going out there and pushing Rambo really hard, and Chucky was just on rails, and then, you know, for that season they brought out the new, you know, Excalibur, and all of a sudden Chucky was starting to become pretty dominant and was a challenge to Willie's prior dominance, and as a result that came to a head at that show.
I'm pretty sure it was the last race, and it was me and Chucky, and you know, it was still, like I said, it was all about your pride. You didn't want to lose.
You know, the characteristics of the truck were the same. It was a, you know, it was a 10,000 pound basketball, and when that thing got to bouncing, I mean, look out.
Willie was kind of bullheaded. He was going to win, and Bill wanted him to win, and it was the final rounds of racing, if I remember right. And Rambo had broke a right rear axle shaft.
You kind of knew when he was as fast as he was going towards the second set of cars, you knew that something stupid was going to happen.
And I remember Rambo rolling over, and the tire, his right rear tire, hit the cab corner, and right where Charlie Pauken was at.
That was literally one of the scariest things I had ever seen, especially at that time.
I run up, and I remember looking up and seeing him unconscious, and there was actually rubber tire marks, and the cab corner was missing, and there was rubber tire marks on his helmet.
Yeah, that was terrifying. Thank God it turned out good. Everybody was okay.
He come around and got out of the truck, and he was fine. But I remember that being for me, it was a very scary moment.
Although I knew we had seen something that we had never ever seen before, and probably would never ever see it again.
Never a dull moment when you had Willie around, you had Scott Hess around. And
some of the most amazing things was, to me, was Scott Hess. You know, Scott Hess was so far ahead of his time, and when he came out with that truck, he was like one with the truck, so to speak. I mean, he was just phenomenal.
And of course, anytime Scott was going to be doing a show, you wanted to be there because you never knew what was going to happen. And
Scott's got like a mental glitch that probably caused his situation on why he drives like a madman.
The stuff that you see today, the way he ran when he put his second truck together with leaf springs, he could probably win a freestyle today.
The star was Scott, no question. And he set the bar for everybody else.
had 572. I mean, he had a 572, but he had like a 1471, 30, 40. Who knows, 50% over, and I mean, he was just, that new truck ran like it would, he tossed that truck around like it weighed 5,000 pounds, and I'm sure you've seen him run, and but he was just off the hooks.
It seemed like he was out of control, but he never ever touched a wall. I never spent a dime in repairing Scott Hess's act. And I spent a lot of dimes cleaning up after Jerry Richmond, and Jerry Richmond had his share of contributing to the damage report.
From the very first show I ever did for him was where I did a 90-degree wheelie and actually stuck, so they got a little bit of media biz out of that for the next few years, and it's still going around the internet.
Hit the cars, went up, boom, stuck it. And you could just see him inside, like, what am I supposed to do now? I said, well, you got it up there, you get it back off.
Of course, Chucky was always a handful too,
And Charlie Pauken took out an entire wall at the someplace in Georgia, I remember.
We were in Nashville. Went over a group of cars. The truck almost went over, so we throttled it. When he throttled, he shot forward. He hit the wall, but hit the locker room. I mean, I held my breath, and I was curious to know who was in the locker room. Fortunately, nobody was. I think the manager told me his office was next to the locker room, and fortunately, it didn't hurt his office, or he would have been really upset.
Becky, especially if it was one of her shows, she would go over and she'd get the guys to say, see this wall? See how nice it is? See how pretty it is? That's the way I want it when the show is over. And sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't.
Aaron Polburn and Bill Bader came up with a format that was unbelievable, that is still being used today. From the opening to God Bless the USA by Lee Greenwood, they still do that. His shows were theatrical, action-packed. They got people in, gave them what they wanted to see, and got them out within a couple hours' time.
They were the best to work with. They were some of the best memories I have is when, we were at war and we would walk out to that song holding a flag, and just, they were the nicest people. It was like a family.
Aaron was such a promoter and a crowd pleaser, and he instilled that in us, to get the crowds involved early on.
We always worked together, and all the other guys too. Kirk Dabney, of course, Marty Garza, Bill Weaver.
You can go 10 years and we still like we're brothers. It's just amazing how time can pass, and we all just...
Other than the ice cream deal, I don't know that was really nice first thing in the morning, Hess.
Well, you're supposed to eat it, not put it up your nose.
Yeah, well, if you weren't driving, I wouldn't have put it up my nose.